So this is the favorite part of the day for me, when everyone has gone home and I'm here alone in the garden and just enjoying what there is around. I've managed to grow two wonderful marrow plants. This year has been a very unsuccessful year for vegetables because every time I grow anything, it's either the slugs that get it or the deer that roam our nursery come eat everything up. So let's hope that I get some crop from this. It's now 31st of August and it's almost feeling like autumn. Everything is getting much cooler, but we still haven't had much rain so far. So I will hope for the best. What I wanted to show you really are my attempts at growing flowers. I used to be very good at growing flowers, but off late, because of the deer problem, I have not attempted to grow many bedding plants and flowers because the deer seem to be very fond of eating it. But what I have here are self-sown seeds of cosmos plants. These plants, believe it or not, they're so beautiful. What happens is that these lovely seed heads, look at these seeds here, they drop off after flowering, and when the seeds get dry, they scatter themselves, and each year these plants are self-sown cosmos. See how beautiful they are. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So now all the weeds, I have these beautiful flowers around me. It reminds me of the days when I was growing up in India. Cosmos were sold as cut flowers, and I used to buy these flowers and I used to go with my mother to visit our grandparents' graves and place flowers on the graves. So they bring back these sentimental memories. Sorry about rambling on, but I thought I should share these things with you. Now let me go on to show you what other plants I have. This is a very large magnolia tree, and it is about 25 foot tall, reaching the sky. And this plant I use for air layering, and I get lots of beautiful, beautiful plants from that. Around the nursery, I have about 5 or 6 large magnolia trees. Another one is there against the house, and you can see that large blossom there. See that blossom there? That tree flowers every year, and it flowers non-stop from June till October. Although they're all Magnolia grandiflora, there are many different varieties. That particular one there has 14 to 16 inch diameter flowers. Panning around, that is my large Acer palmatum clump. There are about 3 very large trees, and those trees are about 30 foot tall. And in the background is the forest of Zelkova serrata. So let me walk into the rest of the nursery. As you can see, the sun is beginning to set, so the sky is blue, but the rest of the nursery is getting dark. I will just walk you into the orchard because this year the apple crop has been very good. Most of the other fruit have not been so good because for some reason fruiting trees fruit well every other year. Oh, while I'm passing, I better show you this crab apple. This is the famous crab apple that I grew from seed in 1980. And this is a yellow fruited one with very small fruit. So you can see the size of the fruit. They're really small. And there are literally thousands of fruit on this tree. And it has pale pink flowers in the spring. I'm now going to walk you to the orchard because I must show you these lovely apple trees that we have in our orchard. Herons was an orchard about 100 years ago, and the suffragettes used to inhabit this colony, and this is one of the small holdings that the suffragettes used for growing fruiting trees. They were mainly apples, pears, and I think plums were grown here. While I'm passing, this is my maple grove. It looks really eerie in the dark. It really looks eerie. Look at the trees. And that's the pond behind here. I'm using a gimbal device in case you are wondering if there is some difference in the quality of the videos. I hope there is. I'm still learning to use the device, so forgive me if it's not perfect, but I hope it will stabilize the videos and make you feel less seasick when I walk around. These are the lovely apples that have just fallen on the ground. We used to have 150 apple trees of this variety, which is called Royal Jubilee. And the fruit are sometimes as much as 6 inches in diameter. And I once weighed a fruit and it weighed 16 ounces, almost a pound. So look at the fruit on these trees. The trees are just laden with fruit, and sometimes the fruit is so heavy that it breaks the branches. The branches literally snap. Look at the apples on the ground. What a crying shame. But in this area, most people have fruit trees, and when they have a few fruit trees, they don't need apples, so you can't even give the fruit away. I must show you this variety of apple, which is an old English apple called the russet. And the russets have this very rough skin and it's brown in color. It's got a very nutty flavor, and they are quite an unusual tasting dessert apple. That means it's a sweet apple, not a cooking apple. And I also have the Cox's apples, this very famous old English apple. Look at this fruit on this tree. Absolutely laden with fruit. So we've had an extremely good year for apples. The air is getting quite cold now. I think the temperature must be 17 degrees. Let me just give you a shot of these maple trees. This is the first time I've noticed the maples changing color. And it's only the 31st of August, so already I have a hint of the autumn color. Let's pan around here. So this is not a video about bonsai, but a tour of my apple orchard. We don't spray our orchard, so this is very organic. Let me just walk to the boundary of our nursery to show you the lake. We have a large 10-acre lake behind our nursery. In fact, while I remember, I will try and get my editor to show you a video that we commissioned using a drone, and it has beautiful shots of the nursery from the air, and it shows the lake very clearly. So continuing my walk, I'm now entering another part of the orchard where we have these very old Bramley apple trees. For those of you who know your fruit trees, will know that the Bramley is a very old eating apple. This is not a Bramley, this is the Royal Jubilee. But to show you the Bramleys, this is the Bramleys all on the ground, and the trees, believe it or not, are about 80 feet tall. They're really, really tall trees. And some of these trees are so old that they're hollow, and in the holes of the trunks of the trees, we have birds and owls nesting in them. So this is a really beautiful, quaint old orchard. I must walk you to another part of the nursery because we have other fruit as well, different types of apples. And we have pear trees. Look at the apples on that floor there. Nobody wants it. The fruit falls on the ground and it's recycled and replenishes the soil. Absolutely nobody wants the apples. For those of you who are keen on knowing something more about fruit, I have another very rare tree called the bullace. And the bullace is a type of plum, very old-fashioned fruit. And one of my friends who joined me in my dance group, she uses these fruit to make jelly, not jam, make jelly. And this is what bullace looks like. Look at it. They're like a small plum. Very sweet. This apple tree is called the Worcester. Worcester is an old English apple. Don't forget, these orchard trees are all about 100 or more years old. The orchard was planted in 1911. So these trees are really old. And look at the fruit, laden with fruit. Laden with fruit. So this is the Worcester apple. That is a pear tree. And we'll take you to another area where you have more pear trees. Pears have to be plucked at just the right time. If you pluck it too soon, they remain hard and they don't ripen. So you will have wasted them. And I haven't been to this part of the field for quite a few days. And I've just spotted that the maples here are just beginning to turn color. Look at the color, absolute riot of color. And it's only the 31st of August. This is a wild cotoneaster, which will eventually become a bonsai. But let me just walk through these maple trees. These are the large maples that we grow, either for making into bonsai or just for air layering. There are stock plants. Some of them are really old. They've been growing here for more than 37 years. So they're all waiting to become bonsai. This is one I carved years ago, and that will make an interesting bonsai. You don't often get maples which are carved like this, but I will follow this through with another project. We've had a very windy day, so the wind blows the trees over. So tomorrow they have to be put upright. I'm not going to try and lift them up today. So this is what I call the early autumn color. By the end of September, this whole place will be red, and in October it will be even more red. This tree, I think I know it. It is the Osaka Zuki. And Osaka Zuki has the brightest red. That and Arakawa are really bright red in autumn. The wind is blowing from the east, so the planes from Gatwick are taking off in this direction. So I've grown used to the sound of the planes. I know it annoys a lot of people, but you can't do anything about it, so we just live with it. Some more of our large Bouverensis pines. Look at it. They're being trained either as garden trees or bonsai. All part of the experiments that we continue to do. These are more Bouverensis. These are beautiful workshop trees, absolutely beautiful workshop trees. And these are cedar trees here. Air layering experiments with cedar. More apple trees. I must be mad. Why did I grow so many apple trees? These are new apple trees. These I planted when I came here in 1986. Now this is our main maple area, where we have our large maples. I'm afraid I don't remember the names of all the maples. There are too many to remember what they are. But they are all different. They're all different. See, that is different. And these trees, which are about 60 foot high, let me show you a panoramic view. They're very tall maples. They are trident maples. And they were planted when I came here in 1986. And we collect a lot of seeds from those trees. So I might air layer some of the tall branches, and I have some very tall Chinese elms, 60 foot high. Those are Chinese elms which were sold as indoor bonsai initially, and they're planted in the ground, so they've also become 50 or 60 feet tall. I keep saying I must airlayer some of those branches. And these are the Arakawa that we have on the nursery. Really old trees. They all came as stock plants from Japan, and we use them for propagating. We love propagating from Arakawa because they are hard to produce any other way. Let me give you a panoramic view of the maples. These maples haven't started turning color yet. They will turn color soon. More planes taking off. Look at the thickness of the trunk. That is a 6 or 8 inch diameter trunk. And that pot is a 75-liter pot. So that is our growing field area. I will now walk into our main nursery area. So I've come back to the pond. The fish are waiting to be fed. I feed the fish in the evening between 7 and 7:30, so they get to know when their feeding time is. I haven't pruned my pine garden trees this year. I will get round to doing it, although it seems a bit late now, but I will try it as an experiment. Normally they are pruned towards the middle or end of June, but it's already the last day of August. I might give it a prune in September to see what happens. Just as an experiment. You've gathered by now that I always do experiments because I like trying new things, and it's only by trying new things that you get to know how trees respond, how they grow to different growing conditions, different growing techniques. These are all semi-trained trees, thousands of them, all waiting to be converted into bonsai. And while I'm here, I will show you, this is the Acer Nugundo, which I pruned hard back in April. If you remember this tree, I pruned it hard back. And look at the branching on it. I will wire some of the branches. Some of the leaves at the bottom are pink. So there are all sorts of experimental trees here. Lots of them. Keeping the weeds down is our biggest problem. We have such a lot of weeds growing that I dare say we could have one full-time employee just seeing to the weeds. So these are maples which are waiting to be put up into plastic bonsai training pots. So these are all our home-produced Japanese maples waiting to be converted into bonsai. So these have taken at least 20 years to grow. So a lot of these trees are in different stages of being trained and developed. So I hope this gives you some ideas to how long a process it is. I sometimes feel that because I keep doing these projects where I convert bonsai very quickly, and because I do that, I may give the wrong impression that bonsai don't take long to make, but really good bonsai take years and years to make. So look at these, for instance, these maples. These ones are already 4 or 5 years old, and those ones in the back are about 30 years old. So long journey ahead of them. But you can see the shapes of some of those other trees. They're all ready to be shaped and put in bonsai pots as complete bonsais. In the distance there, that is a large Nomura maple which I planted in 1990 when I came here. They were imported from Japan in 1990, and this pond was made in 1990, but I've been here since January 1986. As I was passing by, I couldn't help resist taking pictures of this bunch of crab apples. Look at it, one bunch of fruit. How many fruit are there? Must be about 30 fruit on one bunch. It's a deep pink flowered crab apple, and I even air layer this tree because it's a very rare variety. We sell the fruit for seed, and we grow them as young plants from seed. So this is a very rare crab apple with these deep red fruit. We have a large stock of semi-trained junipers. They were imported from Japan more than 30 years ago, and I've grown them from small, and they've more than quadrupled in trunk size. So they came as half-inch trunks, and now many of these maples have got 3 to 4 inch diameter trunks, just by constantly growing them in larger and larger pots. They're all waiting to be styled one day. And then we look at the trees. This is one of my favorite tried maples. "30 years of growing the branches." Japanese yews. And lots of Itoigawa juniper waiting to be styled. And while I'm passing, I will show you, this is a very unusual pine. This is a coconut pine. And coconut pine has got very small needles. Look at the needles, almost like a picea, so small. This is a massive old tree. I did a video of these Scots pines about 3 years ago when I first started doing the YouTube videos. They were straggly pines, but just by tipping the ends of the growing shoots, I managed to get it growing compact again. So this has become very compact. I think the light is fading now, but the camera continues to take quite nice pictures. I think two companies should give me complimentary products because I advertise it so much, and that is the iPhone. I'm using an iPhone 13, and I think this is one of the best iPhones I've ever had. The pictures are so good. And the other product I always extol the virtues of is the Felco secateurs. So this is a very beautiful shot, and let me linger here while I shoot it with the lanterns in the background. Let me continue taking some pictures. These are really lovely shots because the light is perfect. And look at the sky at the back. I do apologize for the planes because they are working overtime. Every 1 or 2 minutes the planes are taking off. So from showing the apple trees and pear trees and the maples in the field, I'm just showing you some of our bonsai, so at least you have something to enjoy now, although it's nice to see every aspect of the nursery. Every aspect of the nursery. This is an old San Jose juniper that I've been training. This is again about 30 years of training. Look at the size of the trunk, lots of refining to do. What a lot of lovely material to work with. So let me take just a couple of more minutes of video, and that will be the end of this little tour of the nursery. I know a lot of viewers like these tours. May not be everyone's cup of tea. I find it very relaxing, and I hope you find it enjoyable and relaxing too. So on that note, I'm going to bring this video to an end. And I will end by showing you a very nice juniper that we acquired this year from Japan. And that is the tree.